Welcome to Virtual Book Signing. I'm Daniel Weinberg, and as always, we're here at the Abraham Lincoln Bookshop in Chicago. And it's a gorgeous day. We actually have a few people here with us, and we're happy to have C-SPAN join us. Thank you very much to be here. And Illinois Channel has been here, and Liz Taylor from the Tribune Literary Book Section is with us. And we appreciate all of them being here. Also, Voice of America is covering us today as well. Just before we go on, I should tell you all that while we're live, and this is not for C-SPAN unfortunately, but while we're live you can email in questions. We hope you will. Give your first name and where you're from and we'll shout out to you, and we'll try to get it on air as quickly as we can. If you're watching the archive, you can always ask us if we have signed books still. We'll have some left over, first editions and signed. You certainly don't want to be with the screenplay of the Lincoln movie after it's signed, after it gets to be an Oscar winner and you don't have it signed. So get it now while you can. And if you're on C-SPAN and would like to be a part of us, I hope that you will by getting to virtualbooksigning.net and leaving your email and be a part of the virtual book signing family. Also, I should let you know that next month we're not going to have a author in. Instead, we're going to launch our new live broadcast, Artifact Whisperer. That's moi. And we're going to talk about, it's for collectors and by collectors. We'll have collectors on air or taped. We'll talk about artifacts that we have at the time here in the shop and the stories behind them, because artifacts, historical artifacts, were made for some human desire or need, and it's up to us and the collectors to find out what these are. So I hope you will join us for that. We'll have many other segments, what it's worth. We'll ask you as a collector to email into us maybe a description and an image of a prize example you have in your collection, and we'll try to put that on and tell the story about it, and you can ask questions as well. So Artifact Whisperers next month, our premiere, and again, for anyone who wants to, virtualbooksigning.net so that you can get on with us as well. Well, the Lincoln movie is out, I've heard, and so here we are with two books, two authors, and two books that are related directly to the movie. Tony Kushner, of course, lives in New York City, the recipient of a Pulitzer Prize, 2 Tony Awards, an Emmy, the Critics' Choice for Best Adapted Screenplay, and of course he's up for an Oscar in just 9 days. And frankly, it should win, at least here in the Abraham Lincoln Bookshop it certainly should, because it made a different statement than anyone else has in all of these years on Lincoln on film, and made the biggest difference, I think, than other films that in their own genre I don't think have the same impact as this one does. He's the author of Brundabar, illustrated by Maurice Sandek, co-edited Wrestling with Zion. His plays include Angels in America, Homebody Kabul, and Caroline or Change. His screenplays include Angels in America for Mike Nichols and Munich for Steven Spielberg, and of course today's book is the screenplay for the Lincoln movie, and it's a foreword by Doris Kearns Goodwin. The Theater Communications Group publishes it, 164 pages, $30 for cloth, $15.95 for the paperback, and you can order while we're live or a little later on as well. We'll have signed copies for you. As well, we have Harold Holzer. I think this is his 3rd or 4th time on, a senior vice president for external affairs at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, co-chair of the U.S. Lincoln Bicentennial Commission, may it rest in peace, has authored or co-authored 44 books on Lincoln and the Civil War, and is a specialist in Lincoln and Civil War imagery and the go-to guy for the media on anything Lincoln. He has a nice artifact collection too, for that matter, and hopefully we'll get you on Artifact Whisperer. He won the Lincoln Prize for Lincoln at Cooper Union. He's also won the Barondess Award 4 times, the Nevins Freeman Award here at the Chicago Civil War Roundtable, 3 Achievement Awards from the Lincoln Group of New York, and also the James Robertson Young Readers Award from the Round Table of New York. And that really goes right to the book he's done today, which is his latest book, How Abraham Lincoln Ended Slavery in America, a companion book for young readers to the Steven Spielberg film Lincoln. It's a New Market Press for IT Books, division of HarperCollins, 224 pages, illustrated, and is $16.99. And we can get you this signed as well in first edition. Well, thank you both for joining us here at the shop, and have a ton of questions, and I hope some will come in as well. First one is one you may have heard before, but it's first time here, and that is that we now know that Jon Favreau, Obama's speechwriter, has decided to become a screenwriter. So, as a screenwriter, you think you can become Obama's speechwriter for a change?
I don't think I would make a very good political speechwriter. I think that there are requirements for that job that I like patience and willing to be severely edited and writing on deadline and so on.
Well,
you probably not be.
You put some wonderful words into Lincoln's.
Well, I did my best, and as I've said before, I think that we have a president at the moment who's really capable of writing very beautiful speeches all on his own, and a couple of really wonderful books. So it's nice to have a real writer back in the White House.
All right. Well, just another screenwriter coming out, though. Does Spielberg
Maybe after he's done being president, he'll become a screenwriter.
Could happen.
He's young. I mean, he could do anything.
If anyone is interested, I'm available to be either a presidential speechwriter or a screenwriter.
Or a screenwriter.
I'm just waiting
or a
for
president.
Maybe he'll follow
president.
John Quincy Adams, go back into Congress. Tell us about your relationship with Steven Spielberg and how the film and you as a screenwriter, you're the third one on the movie, and how did it change from what Spielberg was doing in the first place and what he asked you to do?
Steven originally was thinking of this as being a sort of general film about the Civil War, and then met Doris at the point that she was working on Team of Rivals. He bought the rights to Team of Rivals and sort of read it chapter by chapter as it was coming out. By the time he asked me to take a look at Team of Rivals and consider adapting it, he had really moved from thinking of it as being a film about the entire Civil War to being a film very specifically about Lincoln, which is where I think his heart was always. He's said many times that as a kid he was fascinated by Lincoln. He was very frightened when he was taken to the Lincoln Memorial as a little boy, and he thought the figure was this kind of giant, scary figure, and then he looked into the face and felt that it was a very kindly face, and it sort of had a big impression on him. So I think when we first started talking about Lincoln, he told me that one of his earliest memories of Lincoln was cutting out a black cardboard silhouette of Lincoln on President's Day in second grade. And when we had our first meeting with Daniel Day-Lewis, we were at a pub after the meeting was done, after the first day's meeting was done, and Daniel and I were talking by a window, and it was twilight, and Daniel was just silhouetted against the window, so Steven took a picture with his phone of Daniel's silhouette, and he emailed it to me that night when we got back to the hotel, and it looks like Abraham Lincoln, so it sort of made a circle for him. I think this was something that he'd always wanted to do.
So how do you approach your part of the project? And you certainly had to do a good deal of research in the Lincoln literary field. What were the major influences that you had?
Well, I came to the Abraham Lincoln bookstore for
You
one
did?
thing. I did actually, and left with a carton full of books. I began reading what seemed to me the sort of major Lincoln texts. I began reading through the Library of America collection of essays and not essays, of speeches and letters. I read a few general histories of the Civil War, and sort of intense. I've always loved 19th century literature, American, English, Russian, French, and I started to, pick and choose American novels from the period and English novels from the period to sort of get more fluent in 19th century spoken language. And I began to figure out how to narrow the story down to something that seemed to me to be containable within a feature-length format, which is only about